When the pandemic first started, I figured out what would make me happy and help get me through it. Having a car. And then I got the car, and as I drove home, sat in traffic, searched for parking, my happiness faded fast. The car didn't actually make me happy as I'd expected because the greener grass came with parking problems, toll booth tags, and car insurance. Sure, I was getting more freedom to get out safely, but at what cost? I think I wanted a car because I thought it would allow me to have a lot more fun, to do cooler things, to see places, just to get out. It would be better for my mental health, and it would make me happier. I thought it would make me happier. This got me thinking about our collective pursuit of happiness and all the books and movies that ask us what makes us happy.
How many of you want to know what the secret to happiness is?
But what if we're just asking the wrong question? What if the pursuit of happiness is a road that leads to nowhere? This episode is sponsored by Brilliant. Let's start off by defining happiness. It's a state of pleasure and joy that we tend to strive for to improve our well-being and satisfaction. We often relate it to things that happen to us, like buying a new car, or winning the lotto, or going on an all-expenses-paid holiday. It's the pursuit of the perfect moment, often mused upon by self-help gurus or Instagram influencers offering the secret recipe for achieving happiness. Well, in 2005, researchers published a pie chart of 3 things that determine your well-being, and this became known as the happiness pie. They estimated that 50% of our happiness is based on genetics, 10% on our circumstances, and 40% on our actions, so things under our control. The simplicity of this pie was delicious, and it was gobbled up by pop science sites and authors of self-help books. But as is often the case with things that seem too good to be true, the happiness pie has a lot of flaws. For starters, the researchers looked at how circumstance affects happiness at the population level, looking at the big picture. But that can be really different at an individual level. For example, let's imagine a study finds people who are rich are 10% happier than those who are living in poverty. Well, if people who are living in poverty come into money, it doesn't necessarily mean that they would then become 10% happier. Maybe they were already happier than the people who are rich at a baseline level. Maybe they think about happiness completely differently, or maybe they would actually be more than 10% happier. There's also a lot of disagreement about how much of our happiness is controlled by genes. Some studies say it's 40%, some studies say it's 80%, which is a pretty huge difference. And our genes, circumstances, and choices aren't all independent of each other, they all interact. So it doesn't really make sense to separate them into different slices of pie. But even if the happiness pie isn't totally correct, the important point remains that we still do have some control over how we feel. And it's not just about what we have or what we don't have, it's about how we look at it. In the pursuit of happiness, we put a lot of focus on goals and achievements. Of course, it's good to have goals, but not when our well-being depends on us achieving those goals. Because a lot of things, like getting a promotion at work or getting married, it depends on other people or systems, and it's not fully within our control. And by tying happiness to your goals, you run the risk of ending up on the hedonic treadmill. This is the tendency to return to your baseline emotional state pretty soon after good things happen to you. So you end up right back where you are, waiting for the next thing that's going to make you happy. So, is there a way to find real long-term well-being? Psychologists say the answer may be contentment, learning to find peace and acceptance in the present moment. And this is a fundamental difference between traditional Eastern and Western philosophies on happiness. While traditions such as Buddhism or Hinduism focus on happiness as an inside job, Western thought has made it about something to pursue or attain, even promoting it in governing, like America's Declaration of Independence. So if you, like myself, need some help on finding peace and acceptance in the present moment, there's a couple of things that can help. One is learning to be more mindful, and mindfulness as a term gets thrown around a lot, but it's the practice of noticing your thoughts and your feelings and sensations and your environment in the present moment, and accepting them without judgment or without thinking if they're good or bad. I'll link to some more resources on how to do that down in the doobly-doo. Meditation is one of the most popular ones, but I know that's not for everyone, so please check out those resources. Another thing is practicing gratitude, which, like mindfulness, gets thrown around a lot. But gratitude actually has a lot of benefits for your happiness and well-being, and a common practice is to keep a gratitude journal. So you start off or finish your day by writing down 3 things that you were grateful for. When I do this, I find it always comes back to me being thankful for my health and my family and very simple things, which is being content. Another thing you can do is lean into what you're grateful for and the things that make you content. So if you are writing down that you're grateful for your health and your family, spend more time focusing on your health. Go for long walks, spend more time with your family, unplug and actually do grounding activities with them like gardening, playing board games. Love a bit of Scrabble. The question of what makes us happy is incredibly complicated, but the question of what makes us content is a lot easier to answer and accept. Happiness can be a lofty goal that you keep climbing for and can never quite achieve, like your dream job, which I assure you if you get after a certain amount of time, you'll just want a new job or want to do something different. Or maybe it's your ideal car, and once you buy that, you'll want to replace it soon enough. Or it could be having the perfect amount of YouTube subscribers. Beautiful YouTube subscribers. And it doesn't matter however many you have, you always want more because you always want to grow. But if we shift our expectations and pursue contentment, that is actually more likely to make us happy. This shift in expectations is also a shift in thinking, to be more logical and scientific. So to help me, I've been using a course from Brilliant, who are the sponsors of today's video, that's called Scientific Thinking. Brilliant is a science and maths enrichment learning platform that has everything from short courses to daily challenges. I like Brilliant because from a learning perspective, they're really engaging. So they have puzzles that you have to solve and things that you have to build as part of the courses and challenges. So if you want to keep learning or just brush up on science problems every day, go to brilliant.org/BrainCraft and sign up for free. And also the first 200 BrainCraft subscribers that go to that link will get 20% off an annual premium subscription. You can have your happiness pie and eat it too.